Welcome everybody to the Business Through Human Potential Transformation webcast that I'm running with Banu together. And yeah, let's dive into it. Let's dive into what we want to talk about. And it's really at the end transforming business through human potential, what that means. And I'm very glad and happy that Banu joins me as a co-host for the call. And yeah, let's introduce ourselves. After we have seen the agenda, business problems, business solutions, and services. So what are the problems we see related to people in the business, people in the world, in business, at work? And what do we think we have as a business solution for that, and what type of services we offer in doing so? So, welcome, Banu, and thanks for being the co-host today, like this afternoon already in the session. And please introduce yourself.
Well, yes, thank you for giving me the invitation to be part of this, and welcome everybody. It is great to be with all of you. Either it's your morning or your evening, so glad you could make it. And shout out to everybody who's catching up on the recording as well. So my name is Banu Cetin. I have been working in the IT industry for 25 years, so that's my corporate experience in global companies. Where I led mainly sales teams across the globe. I held many different roles in marketing, in sales, business excellence, etc. And during my corporate life, I discovered the business application of human design, which is BG5, and I was so drawn to this information. Number one, to help myself, because it benefited so much in understanding who I am and how I can be fulfilled and what's my life purpose. Because I remember like sitting in after my 35 fishes, I think, sitting there and thinking, okay, I didn't come to the world to sell software. So I was selling software with my team. So I'm like, that shouldn't be my life purpose. What is it? So it started with a search, and then BG5 was so intriguing, so helpful. And then I was drawn into it. Then I became a consultant, and then I also became an instructor doing worldwide classes for the BG5 Business Institute. The legacy I really want to leave behind is to be able to be somebody who has helped many people bring the best out of themselves. And I do think BG5 is a great tool that really helps me work on that. And I am here to teach something that's explaining the same thing over and over. Maybe most of you know, if you know human design, it also will help us find what our life purposes, and this is mine. So Boris and I are looking forward to share how we have applied this knowledge in the real business world with you and some general applications. And my last name is pronounced Cetin. Yes, so there's a question in the yes. Yeah, in the chat. Yes, well, I'll give it back to you, Boris.
Yeah, my name is Boris Nedwed, and similar to Banu, I have worked as well more than 2 decades as a senior manager in a multinational corporation, different areas, all related to IT though, finance and IT, corporate audit, SAP projects, risk and controls for IT worldwide, responsible for that. International experience, I lived in a couple of countries around the world. I worked there, and I mean, the list is not long enough. There's more. This is just the countries I lived in for quite some time. Project management, program management, multi-million-dollar projects, IT service management. I'm multiple certified consultant in IT world. I've worked with offshore, remote, and on-site teams. And way more. I mean, just 2 decades to summarize in a couple of bullet points is a challenge. I'm as well an NLP coach, human design analyst, and BG5 career consultant. And like Banu, I found my legacy, which is actually in my chart, in my BG5 chart. I want to change the corporate business world by placing the human in the center. that is the idea that we want to bring forward today as well in this presentation, that something has to change. It's visible everywhere that it cannot continue like that. And from our perspective, the human is the key to bring it back into human-centric business. And my life purpose, coming as well out of my chart, is I have this intriguing insight, having to know something, being inspired about it, and making it visible and touchable and palpable for the world, and yeah, to change something. My whole aspect of my design is around transformation. So what I'm doing is actually what I really like to do and love to do. So let's jump into it. What are the business problems that we see in the business world related to people? Being it employees, being it leaders, being it managers, being it owners. What is there? We picked a couple of those to present, like employee engagement and satisfaction. There's this famous Gallup reports. I don't know if you know them. Gallup is a website that basically displays different trends worldwide, plus well the US, global, Asia, and so on. And one of the statistics and characteristics is the employee engagement. And the employee engagement globally hovers around, I would say, between 23 and 30% of people being satisfied, people being engaged. So it's 70 to 80% roughly that are unengaged, that are unsatisfied. And I just want you to remember this like 70% figure, because there is later on as well a figure coming, which is 70%. And there we want to make the trick and say, where does that come from? Second piece, talent recruitment, talent retention. If you have good people, if you have a good team, how do you keep them? How do you bring even new people in? We look as well at a couple of corporate worldwide statistics. Michael Page has just done and released the end of December, the global talent trends for 2023, where they say 90% of the people working worldwide are open to new opportunities. So it's only 1 out of 10 that is actually liking the job he or she does. On the same side, they say 1 out of 3 new hires wants to leave the company they just joined within the next 6 months again, because they're unhappy, something is not working. And McKinsey, in their State of Organizations review of 2023, says that 39% are leaving the job in the next 3 to 6 months. So it is all just pure statistics based on samples these companies have taken and published worldwide. Now we have put like 2 slides. We could continue, I think, for slides and slides and slides. There's many more things. The manager squeeze, like the middle layer of management, that is like getting the pressure from the people below because they are unhappy. They cannot find the people to recruit in the teams, to keep the talent, to motivate the talent. And from top, they get the pressure that the business must continue even better, faster, and so on. Company culture, resignation, again in the Michael Page report. Motivation and ambition, career advancement, happiness first, Randstad Work Monitor. Hybrid world, all the new ways of working, resilience, new rules of attraction, retention, and attrition. Again, the McKinsey report. Retaining people, employees at center stage, Harvard Business Review. The future of work and the global workforce hopes of PwC and Accenture. And again, there is fear, there is something that doesn't work. And what is it? I mean, there's many more, and I tried to put some of the elements on the world map. It's a lot. And it's really showing actually people are not happy in their jobs. So what is it? For us, the underlying question is, how does a individual human find a fulfilling job as an employee, team lead, member, manager, leader, owner, whatever it might be, and using his full potential and strengths? Things that I know I'm good at, how can I utilize them and not being always doing stuff that I don't like? How good it could be if I do what I love to do. Corporations, how they can create environments where The personal growth aligns with the business growth, with the business goals, with the organizational culture of empowerment, with innovation, the holistic success of the company. How would that work when like really 1 + 1 = 3 and it's a win-win situation for both sides, the individual and the company? And how do companies actually stay relevant in the hunt for these attractive employees, for these talents that everybody wants to have? How do they make the point that they are the best and the most attractive employer for these people in this new area? And we see Gen Z and so on, they are more selective. They're picky when it comes to employment. So for us, it's the redefinition of the business processes, the business operations, the business processes, the team dynamics, the leadership. From our perspective, that has to change to put the focus back on the human being. It got lost, and I have so many examples that I've seen in my corporate career where it was headcounts on Excel spreadsheets, and it was just we have to decrease headcount down by 1, down by 5, down by 10. That there are people behind. At the end, it didn't really matter. It was figures and costs. So where's the human? Where's this human centricity that should be there? Because for me, it's as well, people buy from people. Whatever product it is a person that sells to a person. And that is, I think, simply forgotten in the world. Now with that, and what is happening in the world, I give it over to Banu, who would explain you what times we are in, what is really changing. Why do we see that? What is the background actually of it?
I think we're all feeling it. We do feel that the times we are really changing, yes, and we are in a time of major transition. People are questioning things. I think the big thing that COVID did, where everybody started the questioning process and making changes in their lives too, was the big push maybe. But we're all feeling it. So if you think about it, in the past, maybe from our generation or the generation before, it was more about institutions and being part of things. So every country has an education system. The children go through that education system. And if you're successful in school and you get a good job, yes, you got a good job, and then you would continue with that same company, or you could jump up companies and do other things as well, but you stayed within that framework. Yes, and there were bargains. So you do this for the company pays you some money, and that was all that mattered pretty much. Yes, think about the industrialization and how the factories started and everything began changing. And I'm talking about the last 400 years, by the way, because the BG5, we have like bigger cycles in BG5. And in 2027, the era of planning, we call it, about this institutional part is coming to an end. So now people are really questioning, do I really trust the systems of power? Yes, the banking system was established, all these governments, taxation systems, this is when it has been established really. And do I really trust the authorities? Because in the past you would think, you know, your doctor tells you something, you do it. The government tells you the right things. Yes, it was assumed they would take care of their people. And now we are questioning those things. Yeah. So the future is moving to the individual, putting the individual in the center. So it's about self-empowerment now. And people really questioning, you know, why am I doing this thing that I'm doing? Am I happy? Am I fulfilled? Okay, I'm going to work for a paycheck, let's say. But during that, how do I actually benefit from it and live a fulfilling life? So many people left their jobs during the last couple of years. We had this great shuffle happening in the world. People quitting corporations to start up their own businesses. And many more people looking into more spiritual things. Yes, there's more interest in that as well. And it all comes down to people actually trusting themselves. Yes, in times of crisis, when you don't know who to trust, there's only one thing that you can trust, and that's you. actually. So people are trusting that more and more, and it will be more in the future. So the future holds a process where the individuals are coming together and they're breaking down the barriers to bond with others where necessary, yes, instead of being part of some institution or some system. Yeah, so this is the background frequency right now that is going on in the world, and we are feeling it more and more. So that's why the content that we will be sharing with you today is also ever more relevant, because we are all about putting the human in the center. Yes, and those companies as well who are able to do that will be one step ahead of their competition as well.
That brings us to our vision, that we envision a future where the companies and the businesses really start to transcend the conventional reliance on their strategy on finance and power and technology, and pivoting instead and really to think back, what is their greatest asset? And it's the human being, it's their people, it's their workforce. And this is the goal of us, to champion that workforce, to put that human in the center. With that, fostering an environment where the individual strengths of every person, every individual, comes to the foreground and catalyzes a different business innovation, a teamwork, and leadership that will naturally evolve. And that would extend the success into a fulfilling human-centric workplace. And when we talk about success, I was always struggling with this kind of quote, unqualified word of success. And that is something I just came across 2 weeks ago, old, like nowadays we would call it podcast, a radio talk from Earl Nightingale. And he said, for him, success is the continuous realization of a worthy ideal. And that is for me something that just pulled me since 2 weeks. This is for me success. This is every day a step in the right direction is a success. So it's for me not anymore 10,000 Swiss francs more or less on the bank account. No, I go in a direction that I like. That is in the meantime for me the definition of success. And the success monetary wise comes with it. It's an outcome. It's not the goal anymore for me. And that is something that changed for me for sure. Now, how do we want to achieve this human centricity? What are the solutions that we have in hand? And so what do we use, Banu?
Yeah, so there are, of course, a lot of tools that can be used, but from our experience, BG5 seems to be one of the best tools that is out there, that is groundbreaking, that is not following what's there. And that can really make a change in people's lives at the individual level, but then at the team level and at the pace, at the scale of a company actually being more profitable. So may I ask how many of you are knowledgeable about BG5 who are joining, like human design, maybe? Marika, you are? Everybody is? Okay, all right, okay. So the BG5 part is actually the business application of the human design system, and it's different than the personal application of it. Reason being is human design looks at the individual and takes you into, trying to understand yourself. BG5, on the other hand, we take the individual and then we put that within a context, because business does not happen individually. Business happens with a network. So you need to have clients, you need to have customers. There's a manager, maybe an owner. So business doesn't exist in a vacuum. So it can't be done individually. So just knowing yourself is very good. How to interact with others is another thing that you can really understand with BG5. And how do you interact with people around you to actually make material success for you personally and for the business that you are part of. And while doing that, how can you fulfill your purpose? Yes. Moreover, somebody can understand, do you belong in a large organization? Do you belong in small groups? Are you designed to work individually or not? Should you work in a partnership? And not all partnerships are correct. Yes, which partnerships maybe are correct for you? How do you work best with others? And if you were in part of a team, which skills get called out of you, right, at the individual level? And then at a team level, or if you're a business owner, for example, understanding both yourself and the people who are working for you within that business, it actually makes a difference from the interaction and actually maximizing and capitalizing on all the strengths that these people can bring to the business. And 1 + 1 always equals 3. So the quantum of what's created within this team, everybody bringing in something, but just because they are together, the vibe is different. Yes, it's creating something else, actually, that team spirit or team vibration that's there. Yes, you as a person can go into different teams and the feeling will be different. The success will be different. The working together will be different. So that's what we mean. So all of this we can really identify with BG5. And the good thing is we can provide practical solutions that will actually make a difference with BG5. Yeah. So if things were not going well, for example, in a team, and how would we solve that? What actually is the problem? Yes. How can people best interact? Or if you're a manager, what's the best way? Who do you put in which skills do you pull out of certain people? Which tasks do you give them? How do you communicate with them? All of this, BG5 can provide guidance. And then, of course, it's not just about knowing things. Yes, it's about really going and applying them. So that's why even in human design, we talk about doing your own experimentation, going through your own experiment and really applying this. It works same on the BG5 side, of course, and being really able to apply it in the business world where there's stress. Yes, there are numbers to deliver and things to be achieved. So it might be a little harder, but it provides guidance in that area as well. Yeah. So at the individual level, it really helps people make decisions with confidence, because we're all taught certain things and our minds are very strong, but not everything that we're taught by the society, in school, and our parents, it's not really maybe the best thing for us. Yes. And then we've learned certain conditioning that may not be serving us well. So learning this information about yourself will help you make decisions with confidence. You can also learn your interaction style, just like I was mentioning. And if things are not on track, there are like simple practical signposts that you could really tap into to understand, all right, okay, so now I'm feeling bitter, for example. That's my signpost of when things are not right. If I'm feeling bitter about something, okay, then I need to take a pause and start looking into that more carefully, because probably my mind step in and I might be trying to overdo things or do things, push things in a way that's not serving me well. Yeah. Moreover, you learn about your strengths. I think many of us were conditioned to build and fix what's not there. Yes, improve, work on your improvement areas. How can you make things better? What do you need to improve or get better at? I think the business world focuses more on this. But this information really helps. And I truly believe we should all build on our strengths. That's the easiest thing. Yeah. If we all did what we were strong in, that comes naturally and we're good at, I think things would definitely come with ease. So it also helps with this and with your shadow. So understanding where you could really, because of the conditioning you got, where the things that, can take you down and put you in a not so nice feeling way in business as well, and make your interactions maybe problematic, that would be your shadow. So you can also discover those with this information. And moving on to the next slide, thank you, Boris. Yeah. So then, moreover, I think I mentioned a lot of these, but are you designed to work in a partnership? Do you belong in a small group or team? Which business skills get pulled out of you when you go into a team? Okay, we're able to see that. And then maybe you can capitalize on those. And moreover, not everything is our job. Yes. So you understand what's your job to do and what's not yours to do. So you don't push yourself in areas that you're not meant to really function in, and maybe get help or collaborate or let others take care of that. And also the interaction pieces there, and whether you fit into bigger organizations or not, which departments you can work best in, and how you can best contribute to an organization you're in can be seen with this. And if we move to the next slide, I wanted to bring a few examples, no matter where you are in your career or in your life. This knowledge can really be useful and be practical in helping you with the business world. So if you're a manager, yes, you could really guide your employees to create impact, for example, and grow in their roles, and also help them be more successful, thus help your organization be more successful, of course, yes. And same with a business owner. How can you drive business success with your team in an efficient way, and make more material success, and maybe grow your business if you're looking for. If you're a coach or consultant, you could really use the knowledge to empower your clients. For example, if you're going to be a startup, yes, you have a startup idea and you're going to establish that. So how do you really create success, for example, during a business launch? Where are the profit areas? What should be your marketing jargon, for example, to push it out? So all of this, you can get help through this information. If you are in recruiting or HR, and we're going to be sharing some examples around how this can be really used in recruiting as well, to put the individuals in the right roles. Yes, because the current system works on CVs, looking at people on their past experience instead of their future capabilities and skills. So now HR world is trying to understand that and change it a bit. Yes, and this is a great tool in helping understand that. With their skills, putting the right employees into the right places and within the right teams. It helps with children, it helps if in school, it could help, moving into college, for example, which would be your areas of strengths, your leaning areas to go into and study, for example. And also, if you are a business owner that's struggling, the information through BG5 can also come in to help you understand the struggling areas and give you some practical solutions and they're usually very easy and surface level things. And you're like, oh, that was so easy, I didn't think of that. Yeah, so that can also really be used to fix things if things are not going well. Yeah. And with all that said, more importantly, it really helps people bring the best out of themselves, no matter where they are within the business world and in whatever life situation. Yes, Boris, I'll give it back to you, and we can start with real life examples.
Real life examples. And I tried to pick a couple of examples that hopefully are speaking. Now, the question is, what do these people have in common that you would see? Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, the Chicago Bulls, the NBA champions like 1998 and 97, 96, and so on, a couple of times, and the German football team that won the World Cup in 2014.
You can put your...
Say it again? Aside of like all the skills they need to have, like really the physical skills or the capabilities, like being able to play basketball, to hold the ball or to kick a ball like the football team, or possibly have idea of IT landscape for Wozniak and Jobs. So this is like the functional skills, I would say they have. Now, when we look from a BG5 perspective and analyze those groups and partnerships, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak had a balanced partnership. They were like complementing each other. They gave each other strengths and capabilities that both sides could benefit from. And for these two, really 1 + 1 = 3, because they had suddenly new strengths together that one individual didn't have. The Chicago Bulls is, when we look from a BG5 perspective, the small group, 3 to 5 people, which a basketball team is, was a functional penta. aside of like the skill set they have, maybe something that contributed, that they could actually go for the 1998 championship, all the troubles that they had during that season. And the German national team is actually a functional large team, an OC16 in BG5 language. That is really something where these distinct small groups combined into a larger group had all the capabilities and functionality embedded in this team. And individually, they were not the best players. Like, I don't know if you know all the football players, like Messi was around or Ronaldo, individually great players, but they didn't rock anything in the championship. The team actually did of Germany, and they were okay players, but they were not like rock stars like the others. And that is embedded in this teams, partnerships, the energetic success functionality that is inside, and that we can visualize with BG5 analysis in different shapes and form. And that is the beauty of it. And this is really why I want to bring these examples. There is something underneath that is aside of all the functional capabilities of individual people, that when you bring them together, something happens, and that can be visualized with BG5. Now, Banu, tell us a little bit about
Yes. Yeah, so we're going to start deep diving at the basic information of BG5. So for those of you who are catching up on the recording, I think pretty much everybody here is a little bit familiar, but if you don't have your chart and you want to have a chart that speaks BG5 language, then you can go to the bg5businessinstitute.com, get your chart, and you can follow through, or if there's anybody you're interested in, maybe a colleague or somebody you would like to also follow along with, you can retrieve their chart. And we'll look at some of the very basics of BG5 knowledge. However, they are the key information, and just using them helps so much. So first of all, if we go on to the next slide, I want to talk about the career type. Okay. So this is like in a perfect world, how the career types would actually function, yes, within a business or within a team. And your career type really is your best way of expressing yourself. Yes, and I'm seeing in people's names, you already put like your public role and a little bit your career type as well. So initiators, if you're an initiator, then you're really here to get things up and running. And the way your energy works is really maybe pushing things forward and maybe pushing things away from you a little bit. This strong thing, aura, that really pushes outwards. And you can really get things started and get things going. Then we have the builders, yes, and we have a couple in live joining us, and I'm sure many, because it's 70% of the world that are builders, that are really here to do the work. They provide the energy to move things along. And when you are listening to how I'm talking about these career types, maybe you have heard of them before, but listen with the idea of this working, all of these types, different people working within a team environment or in a business environment, all collaborating together and intermingling with each other, and trying to make things work so success is achieved together. So our builders would be the ones who do most of the work because they have all this energy to pour into something that they love, yes? And Boris gave us some analysis and some metrics and from studies around how people are not so happy with what they're doing. So can you imagine in a world of 70% of people who came here to really love what they do and do what they love, and then people are disengaged. They want to leave their company. Yeah, there was a metric there, Boris, that you shared. Was it 72%? That was very similar.
It was exactly this 70% I wanted to refer to. It's actually the builders and possibly for the people listening in here, because what I see is more the human design side of things. So initiators are the manifestors, the builders are the generators, the advisors are the projectors, and the evaluators are the reflectors, just to put it in context. But coming back to the 70% builders or generators, they are the ones that have their signpost. The negative signpost is frustration. Now, what is being not engaged? That is frustration. And that is roughly 70% that we've seen, like between 70 and 80% actually, which is, from my perspective, a lot of that is builders that are actually dissatisfied, because their signpost is being satisfied, is their positive side. If they are satisfied, if they can use their energy properly, that is when they're absolutely happy. They thrive, they move on, they have like the constantly recharging battery. If they don't have the constantly recharging battery, if they're frustrated, the battery doesn't recharge, and then it becomes a hurdle and a must do. And I'm a builder myself, I'm a classic builder. And I quit my job actually because of that. I ran into a burnout because of that. Because I was doing things that I didn't like to do, but I had the energy to do, and it was possible to do it for some time, but not for eternity. So back to you, Banu. Just a little excursion on the 70%
thank you. And then I'm going
and
to
how it
come back
relates
around,
to
some applications around running with these people in teams as well, Boris. Thank you for that contribution. Yes. Then we have the advisors like myself who are here to guide the process. But as with the pumping of the world around, we should go out and make things happen. Yes, we're all taught that, you should, there's nothing that you can't do. If you want it, you can do it, and you should do it. Yes, putting pressure on maybe ourselves or parents or the system putting pressure on us. A lot of the advisors also lead to burnout because they believe they should keep on doing. So they, do, work, and then they're not designed really to do that. It's the builders that's designed to do that. Advisors can offer their wisdom. They could guide things, yes? And they need to be careful. They need to wait to be recognized and invited. Otherwise, they're like, okay, you're this know-it-all that keeps on talking all the time and nobody wants to hear you usually. So then advisors also lead to burnout in the world because instead of guiding the process, they're trying to behave like builders and do things themselves, which might be a problem. And then we have the evaluators, yes, a special type. And we do have Ryan here, who is an evaluator. And they are really here to tell everyone around how well things are going, because they could really take a snapshot of what's happening or feel it, internalize that environment, and really be able to share with others, yes, along the way. And they're very flexible. So sometimes I've met evaluators that are doubting themselves, changing their mind all the time. And depending on where they are, if they're in a toxic environment, it could really be toxic for them, for example. Very, very, very important. So the career type is very important in the business world. So think of it this way. If you're a manager and you have a conglomeration of people within your team or your business that are formed, how do you make the best use of these people? If you put too much pressure on your advisors, for example, to do a lot of work, you will lead them probably to burnout. Or if you don't give the freedom to your initiators and you are micromanaging them, for example, as a manager, they don't like it. They won't like it. And then it causes a problem, yes? Or with the builders, if they're not loving what they do. If as a manager, for example, you don't give them the opportunity to respond to things, but push on to them all the things that need to be done, then just like Boris was giving an example, they end up being unhappy and their work is vital to their being. Can you imagine like this builder working maybe up to 12 hours a day? People work that much in the corporate world, doing something that they don't like. So just this basic information and knowing it and treating your people right. Yes, of course, you need to factor in everything as well, from their strengths, their skills, other resources you have, what needs to be done. But just knowing this information helps so much. Yes. And I also want to give some examples around when I used to manage a team, for example, for my builders. I always ask them questions so they could respond to things. Okay. Instead of saying, oh, okay, here's my opinion, because I'm the manager. Yes, I could have a say, but I prefer never to speak first. I let the people speak by asking them questions. Yes, or like let's say we do some brainstorming and everybody shares their thoughts around what needs to be done. And then I can ask, for example, my builders, okay, shall we continue with this project A? Or does everybody agrees with doing B, for example? And then they can give me their response. Is it a yes or is it a no? And then we can collectively go on by using this information. Yeah. So it's actually not knowing it, but really being able to apply it in the business world that makes a difference. Yeah. If we move to the next slide, there's also this other component that you can look up in your chart that's very useful in terms of using in the business world, is your assimilation. Okay, so this you will also see in your chart. And this is in human design, whether you're split, what type of a split you have. I don't know the exact term from human design, Boris, do you know? Or maybe one of you could contribute what the exact human design language for this might be.
A double split and a triple split. So
yes,
depending how this is broken up, and then objective is actually the reflector, because there's no split, there's no definition. Yeah, so just going back between the terminologies, and also this gives me a chance to point out to you how BG5 language is very practical and more business-like. Yes, instead of talking about splits, then, are you an independent assimilator or your working style? You can think of it that way. Are you collaborative? So we use more practical and business terminology within this knowledge, so people can relate to it better. So if you look in your chart, and then Ryan is writing to me directly. Okay, you skipped the evaluator in your examples. You gave info on the other. Yes. All right, go back. So, or maybe we can talk about it here. Let's not go back because we're going to come to the objective, Ryan. So the thing is, of course, with builders, you have 100 examples, and with evaluators, you have little examples. Yes, because you don't get to work with that many evaluators, for example. But I had the opportunity to be assisted in my classes by many evaluators, coincidentally. So I had the opportunity to work with evaluators, and the best thing I could really get out of any evaluator that I really worked with was to be able to ask them, how do you feel about the class, for example, or how do you feel about this project? Because then I know that evaluator could always give me an objective assessment of what is actually going on. Moreover, they'll also give me this understanding. Look, they would say, for example, oh, the class was great, or sometimes the class isn't great. Yes, that there might be tension, people don't agree with things, or it can happen in team meetings as well. So then they give you some feedback to be able to course correct. Yes, and by asking an evaluator some questions around the general flow of things, and by getting their feedback and course correcting, the next time you can definitely make it better. So that's the greatest example I can give, because they're really they can really objectively sense what's happening within that environment and give you feedback. Yeah. So, and then we will continue, and maybe Boris, if you want to offer anything, we can also look at that. All right, so looking into the assimilation. So if somebody has independent assimilation, they are designed to work by themselves, yes? And they process information very quickly. So then usually they're so concentrated and they can get through things themselves. And then they're like, okay, why is everybody so slow, for example? Remember, like, it's not about just understanding yourself, but also understanding how we are all different. Boris, you had a great example of the independent person and how they differ, if you want to share that. Actually, I don't know if you have ever been in team meetings, and you might have seen people that sit in the team meeting, like, looking at the clock, looking at the watch, looking at hands like that, and kind of, when can I flee out of that situation? When can I get out? When can I get to my work? When I can continue? Quite often these are independent people, because they have heard what they needed to hear and they want to continue. They want to go back to their desk and do. So why to hold them up? The idea is then, I had one in my team, and I realized that he is such an independent person. Only afterwards, when I really went into human design in BG5, I understood, oh, he is an independent person. So I gave him the work and I said, look, this is the work package, this is the expectation and the outcome, this is the deadline, off you go. And I let him go. And I didn't like supervise him or micromanage him or called him every day or so. Where do we stand? What's the status? Do you need help? No, because he's independent. He knows what he's doing. It's his area of work. And he loved it. And I loved it because I got the result a day earlier, and I was happy because I got what I wanted, and he was happy because he delivered what was expected. So it was a win-win, and it was no hassle. And this is like elements when you start understanding how the people tick, what is under the hood, so to say, in the car, then you start being able to treat them as they want to be treated, just out of their own intrinsic drive. And that is way more fruitful. That was an example for me of the independent. And myself, I'm the collaborative person like Banu as well. I love to collaborate. I love to exchange ideas. I love to talk with people, spinning off completely different tracks, because that allows my brain to like put the puzzle pieces together, to build my own mind map, to come to the same way, a different way, the same direction, the same goal. I just need more time. And to do the collaborative spirit in it, I get really a wider perspective and sometimes a deeper perspective. That is the difference between an independent and collaborative. And maybe just to add, and that is going back to the type, like working with Banu, both being collaborative, her being an advisor, me being a builder. This is a perfect combination. I have the energy and she is guiding my energy in doing the things. And that is like initially when you remember what Banu said, thanks for having been invited. I asked her, look, do you want to do something like that, like a webcast like that? That was my invitation to her to join or not to join. And that is the way how you deal with an advisor. And that was just for me the perfect thing. And this is how I see it in every day now working with people. This click, when it makes click and they start realizing, true, there is something possibly not yet explainable that is there.
Yeah.
Just a sidetrack of what it might be.
If I could continue giving examples around somebody who is, maybe we go through like collaborative is designed to work. I mean, it's self-explanatory, yes. A synthesizing person, and then I'll go back between the types. A synthesizing person is, they could do work solo, but they're really here to synthesize information from different resources, and they should work with different people. So for example, if they are locked into working with the same team day in and day out, it can be very constraining for them. They would feel very constrained. So best to give them some room to go connect with different teams. So if you're a synthesizing person and you want to go into, let's say, sales, working with different customers, or if you become like you could look into managing some partners. So you have different projects, you go to different partners every day. So it's a different environment, you connect with different people. If you're synthesizing, then it really helps. Or if you have somebody in your team who has synthesizing design, then you want to give them some different projects so they don't need to sit with and do the same thing with the same people all the time. So then, because they are working with different people, it just makes things so much easier for them in a way to assimilate and in terms of getting through things. Then we have the 1% and 1%, which are few, but we have subjective, which is people. These are the quadruple splits. They're pretty much fixed in their design, okay? Because they have so much definition within their design that they can't be very much flexible. So just knowing that that person is subjective assimilation gives, I think, can give everybody else and the manager the relief. Yes, so, you know, don't try to really bend this person, or if they can't, if they want to stay fixed, it's okay for them to, because it's coming from their design. Yeah. And then in the last bit, we have objective assimilation, which rolls into evaluators again. So they will take in the information in a non-judgmental way, yes, and share learnings objectively. So going back to my example, for example, if you are running a meeting and if you did the brainstorming, all the ideas are thought, and then maybe there's a decision to be made. Then, for example, I would be, if I was a manager, it would be great to call on the evaluator, for example, to share their view, because then they could really objectively take what everybody says and give it back to the team, not putting too much judgment on it, so people can hear, like in a nutshell, what was spoken, yes? And then how the evaluator is feeling inside about how this is moving, in a good direction, in a bit bad direction. That can also be shared by the evaluator, and it's great wisdom that could really help everybody move in a good direction, and of course achieve business success together, right? If we are making business decisions together and agreeing on what needs to be done, prioritizing our work and making good use of our resources, then the evaluators are great at sharing their learnings and offering their wisdom in that way. So this is just showing you the tapestry of like the business world, where everybody is so different and they can all contribute in a different way. We just need to know the ways to maximize that, and then everybody could really flourish. So that's why like this information was so useful for me as a people manager, because then I could really maximize the team, help them build their careers as well, and they felt more heard and more fulfilled in a way. Yeah? And then also the signposts, knowing their signposts, like Boris was mentioning, for builders, for example, it's being frustrated. If you know somebody's frustrated, you could sense it, right? And then you could handle it properly within that and catch the signposts around people as well. So this, everybody being different, but working towards a common thing and being able to maximize it. If we can take it to the individual level like this, it goes in the background. Yes, it's not rocket science, but once you learn this and really apply it within your business and team, it does make a difference.
That is just like 2 characteristics or attributes that we looked at so far. And there are actually 16 of those which go way deeper, and under the 16 further nuances of these attributes, where you really can dig out what is happening. And you can shape it, you can engineer it as well, that it runs smoother. That I think this is what we want to bring in. This is obvious. There's other stuff that is possibly a little bit more tricky, a bit more complex as well to explain, because we could spend now hours and hours and hours explaining all of those. But that is the ones for us that really matter and that are palpable, that are touchable. Now, let's see a real recruitment example with one of the customers I had. That is a view of a penta. A penta is 3 to 5 people, and each color, each kind of box is one of the 5 people actually of that group. So there is a green person, a blue person, a pink person, and a red person. The 5th person is not there because it's a 4-people team. And that was a team that existed. So they had an open managerial position where the managing director wanted to hire for that team a sales manager. Now a penta respects only like 6 channels, 6 energies, flows in the view. And that is actually what is represented in such a chart. So you have left and right, and then you have the middle piece, left and right up. So that is the construction of a team. What does a team need to have? A team needs to like bond together. The culture must be there. That is the left side. The right side of the team is the lower right side is how the people commits to each other, how it's coordinated, how do they work with each other. The middle piece is then the kind of working force, the energy that they have to work towards a vision of the team with a specific direction, and then how they implement it and ultimately sell it. So that is the middle path. Then on the right side is like the overview and the accounting of it. How look at the data, the figures, does that make sense? Do we have budget? Or was the target achieved and things like that? And on the left side is the futuristic piece, which is like the planning, the administration, the forward moving, the thinking of what have we learned? How can we improve? What we can do better? What do we plan as next steps? This is more or less the, in a rough, really nutshell, what the Penta view looks like. Now, this team had one open position. What you see here, there is no color in the lower part. There is no color in the upper part, which we call a gap. So there's energetically functionality missing in such a Penta. Now, there were 3 candidates, and the candidates were really like in a basketball team or the football team before. They had all the same kind of functional skills, all the same kind of experience, all the same kind of education, all the same kind of track record. So yeah, how to compare them? And the managing director has heard as well of BG5 and said, look, I want to try it out. I want to try really a recruitment looking at that data. So we did it. First candidate, a person, you see here still the picture, still the 2 gaps. So there was no additional functionality to this team for the team bonding and the working energetically of the team, what I mentioned before in the football team or the basketball team that happens. There was nothing added, meaning they still would have had the 2 gaps. So would have been a choice functionally and so on, education-wise, absolutely okay. The second person, filled 1 gap. So already a kind of a better fitting person for the team, just how the team is structured. And then the third person was the person actually that was taken, no gaps functional Penta. So it all filled. All the boxes are there. All the colors are there in each box. And it was the managing director was actually telling me right after hiring that candidate 3, he had already the feeling that this is the right person. 2 weeks later, I was sitting in the office and the managing director called me and said, Boris, what have you done? And I was like, oh, what? He said, it's amazing. This lady that we hired, she is rocking the house. She is like bonding with the team. She is making it work. She's moving. And it's a completely different spirit that we see, perceive, and feel. And I want to thank you. And it was for me like a recognition of ultimately this. It's the energy that we brought into this team by injecting, aside of the functional skills, as well the energetic field that was required for a successful team. That was a real case example, and it works. I see it work every day or every time I do analysis, whether it's for partnership, for a small team or a large team, it works. It's astonishing. And to me, not surprising anymore, but it's something really, really amazing. So that is what we want to bring to you and show you. And now as well, what are the services? What do we offer around it? As BG5 Solutions that Banu and I are a member of. We offer business consulting and engineering to businesses. We as a group, and it's not only Banu and myself, we have 100+ years business experience. It's actually, I think I recalculated, it's close to 200 years of business experience that we have. We have BG5 knowledge, we have consulting, advising, coaching knowledge, communication expertise, business process, team engineering expertise, project management and program management. So we have knowledge, we have tools that we know how to handle. And therefore we have our services with all the experience that we have. We really do leadership and personal development, team development, process development, engineering, communication, process development, engineering. And we can do recruitment analysis and proposals like you have just seen. So this is what we have at hand. And what are the next steps for you? And we didn't want to do a sales pitch. It's like the knowledge is there. We know how to handle it. It's actually a call to action for you guys that are there either in the call now or watch the recording afterwards. Reflect on your business problems. If you relate to what you have heard throughout the presentation with the business problems that do exist in the world, with what we explained, with examples that we have given, with how we can use that information, how we can make the world a better place, a human-centric place, and really do and create a new way of working individually, in partnership, in small teams or large teams together. That is what we want to explore and give and then show to you and work with you to do that. That is the drive we have. And for that, you can reach out to Banu and myself, and you find all the email address, the LinkedIn profile, our websites, and so on the slides. And yeah, I want to thank you for listening, for joining, for trying to reflect on what is happening. Look, let's start and then let the other people join if they join and when they join.